Hi, my name is Randy Nines with Sport Lockrz, and today I'm going to walk you through the assembly of your new Sport Lockrz. As we go through the assembly, I'm going to mention some tips and tricks as to, some things that'll make it a little bit easier for you. So let's go ahead and get started. The next step in the process is to remove all of the panels from the boxes. So go ahead and do that. Take a look at the panels to make sure there's no scratches or dents or anything like that. And once you've done that, go ahead and pull the hardware box out as well. Okay, so the contents of the box include a piano hinge, a nameplate, T-fittings for the feet, a soft close hinge, a package of screws, the feet that actually go on the bottom of the locker, the hooks that are used on the back of the locker, the hooks that are used for the skate, and the fastener that's going to be used to hold the unit together. Okay, so before we begin today, I want to review the items you'll need to complete the assembly. The first thing you're going to need is a power drill. Secondly, the install tool. Third, a small hammer. Fourth, a flathead screwdriver. Fifth, a rubber mallet. Sixth, a Phillips head screwdriver. And the final thing you'll need is either some duct tape or some painter's tape. All right, so the next step is to make sure that we have a very rigid work surface. So what you want to do is get yourself a solid table. You can use the packaging that comes along with your locker to lay that out on the table to make sure that you prevent the paint from being scratched, but you want to make sure you have a very rigid work surface. Okay, so the next step in the process is to go ahead and begin installing the fasteners. Now what we want to do is install fasteners in all of the parts. So let's go ahead and start that process. We're going to take the install tool, which comes with your kit, along with a fastener. You want to take the fastener and you want to insert it into the install tool and then make sure it snaps into place. Once it's snapped into place, you're going to go ahead and set it over the top of the hole. Make sure you're firmly over the top of the hole, and with your rubber mallet, you're going to go ahead and tap it in. A couple of firm taps. If you see that the fastener is sitting above the wood right here, if it's a little bit above the wood, go ahead and take your rubber mallet and tap it down again to make sure it's nice and snug. Okay, let's try that one more time. Again, we're going to take the install tool. We'll take the fastener, insert it, make sure it snaps into place. Once it's snapped into place, we're going to place it over the pocket, make sure it's firmly, kind of move it around a little bit, firmly over the pocket, and then go ahead and tap it in. When you remove the fastener, you might see that it's sitting off of the wood a little bit. Go ahead and hit it a few more times to make sure it goes down flush. Now let's go ahead and put all the rest of the fasteners in and move forward. Okay, now that we have all of the fasteners installed, the next step in the process is to go ahead and install all of the hardware. Okay, so what we'd like to do now is begin by installing the hardware. We'll start with the soft closed hinge. So what we want to do is, we want to take this particular part from the soft closed hinge. We can set this other part aside. And what we're going to do is install this in the 4 holes that are pre-drilled for it. So we'll go ahead and set this piece down, just like that. So you can see that we've got this part sort of angled up and back. That's exactly the way you want this to go on. The 4 screws, all of the hardware for the soft close hinge, all of the screws and things comes inside of a little bag. We're going to take 4 of these screws and go ahead and secure that to the side panel. Okay, now that we have that particular part installed, because we have this panel up on the table, let's go ahead and put in the feet as well. So to put in the feet, we're going to need the small T-nut. This T-nut, as you can see, is actually got a rectangular sort of shape to it. And the reason we do that, and I can show you here on the side where we install it, the reason we do that is when the T-nut goes in, when we insert this into the hole in the bottom of the panel, we don't want to turn it this way. We want to make sure it's turned with the grain of the wood. That's where you're going to get the best bite into the wood. So go ahead and insert that T-nut, take your hammer, tap it in. Once that's tapped in, we're going to go ahead and take one of the feet, and the feet just simply screw right into the hole. There you go, all set. Go ahead and do another one over here. Put in the T-nut, knock it in, take a foot, go ahead and screw that in, and you're good to go. Okay, now that we have both sides of the feet done, we've done both the left panel and the right panel, let's go ahead and move on to the seat. The next step in the assembly process is to go ahead and put on the hardware for the seat. Again, this particular hardware came along with a soft closed hinge, so we're going to go ahead and put that on now. There's 2 screws that are used to put that on. Both holes are pre-drilled for you, so you just simply need to align this with the holes and go ahead and screw it into place. So we'll do that now. There we go. Okay, so the next step in the process is to go ahead and put on the piano hinge that comes with your package. As you can see, all of the holes for the piano hinge have been pre-drilled, so we're all set to go with that. The piano hinge is going to have a blue mark on one end of it, and what we want you to do is take that blue mark and actually place it on the right edge of the panel as you're looking at it. So it's going to be down here on this edge. So what we're going to do, this is the way the hinge actually is applied. It goes on like this. So what we need to do is just go ahead and flip this part open, align these holes with the holes that are already there, and then we're going to go ahead and screw that hinge in. So as we go ahead and put in the screws, you just want to make sure that you snug them up nice and easy. You don't want to put it in really hard because it potentially could crack the wood, so we just want to make sure that they go in nice and easy, nice and easy. Okay, so the next step in the process is to go ahead and attach the seat support to the other portion of the hinge. Again, as you can see, all of the holes will be pre-drilled for you, so you just simply need to take this part and align it with the hinge that's there already. And what's going to happen is that once this is attached, this becomes a moving part, as you can see, of the seat support. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and attach that now. Okay, one of the things I like to do when I'm putting on this particular part is take one of your extra pieces of foam and go ahead and fold it in 3 pieces. So fold it in half and then go ahead and fold it again. And what that does is it gives a little bit of height to this piece. So we're going to go ahead and take this piece, we're going to lay it on top like that and slide it right over here. And you'll see that the holes will better align with the hinge, so we can put it on a little bit easier. We don't have to hold it up. Okay, so the next step in the process is to go ahead and put on the nameplate. And what we're going to do, you'll see a shelf piece that comes with your unit, and you can see that the holes are already pre-drilled for the nameplate. So we just simply take the nameplate, we set it right on top of those holes, and we go ahead and screw it in. Okay, so the next step in the process is we're going to go ahead and put on the shelf hooks. These are the shelf hooks that come with each unit. You get 2 of them. Again, if you look at the bottom of the shelf, you'll see that there's holes that are already pre-drilled on both sides for the shelf hooks. So we're going to go ahead and set those up with the hook portion facing towards you. Go ahead and set that up, and we'll just take the screws that you get and screw that in. Okay, the next step in the process is to go ahead and put the hooks on the back panel, so we can go ahead and do that now. Again, you get 3 back panel hooks. Those hooks are going to go in the holes, again, that are already pre-drilled for these particular parts. You can see the holes here. One of the important things you need to know is that the fasteners, which are on the other side of this panel, you need to make sure that the hooks are going on the opposite side of those fasteners. You don't want to be able to see the fasteners when you put the hooks on. So just make sure you put the hooks on the right side, just like we have them set up here. All right, we'll go ahead and screw them in. One of the things that I like to do after I screw in those particular screws is go ahead and take a Phillips head screwdriver and just give them a little bit of additional tightening, especially the one that's closest to the hook. Sometimes they don't get in really tight, so just go ahead and just give them a little bit of additional tighten. Okay, so the next step in the process is to go ahead and begin to put together the locker itself. So first thing to do, make sure that each and every one of these fasteners is in an open position. All of these fasteners right now are in an open position. This is a closed position. You want to make sure they're open. If they're not open, this locker is not going to go together. So make sure every one of them is open. Once you know that, let's go ahead and begin. So what I like to do is begin with the bottom of the locker and move my way up to the top. So let's go ahead and put in the bottom and the front panel, and then we'll do the seat assembly, we'll do the shelf, and then we'll do the top panel. All right, first panel that's going to go in is the bottom panel. One of the things, little trick or tip that you want to know is that all of the fasteners for the bottom panel should go towards the bottom of the unit. If this is the inside of the unit, you want to make sure that you do not see fasteners on the inside of the unit. So make sure all of the fasteners are on the bottom. You want to go ahead and just take this panel and drop it into the hole like that. Apply a little downward pressure and just finger tighten them. We're going to do that all the way up to the top. So the next step is to go ahead and begin to put in the seat assembly. First piece we want to put in for the seat assembly is this it's a support piece. So what we're going to do is go ahead and drop that piece into these two holes. We want to make sure it's flush and perpendicular to the bottom or to the side of the unit. Then go ahead and finger tighten these down. Okay, so the next step is we're going to go ahead and install the seat itself. Obviously this is the movable portion, this is the fixed portion. So we're going to go ahead and install that now. So we take the unit and we drop those two fasteners into these two holes, and then you move up to the top where you'll see another hole for another fastener. Go ahead and pull those together nice and tight. Finger tighten that. Go ahead and finger tighten the fasteners at the bottom, and you're good to go. Okay, real quick, another tip is for the top panel, you'll notice that there's 3 fasteners along one edge and 2 fasteners along the other edge. You want to make sure that the 3 fasteners are facing forward. In other words, where the front portion of the locker. So, and the other thing is you want to make sure the fasteners themselves are now facing up so that you don't see those when you look inside the unit. So again, we'll take this part, we'll go ahead and drop it into the hole, just like that, and go ahead and finger tighten those in. Okay, so the next step in the process is we're going to go ahead and put on the face plates. You'll notice that the face plates have a little T, or on the shelf have a little S marked in the back, so you know exactly where they're supposed to go. T is for the top, so we're going to go ahead and put that on now. Just go ahead and set that in, align it with the fasteners. Drop it into place. And we'll go ahead and finger tighten that as well. Do the same for the shelf. Make sure that you've got things aligned there. Go ahead and put the shelf on. Hold it tight, finger tighten this down. There you go. Okay, so the next step is we're going to go ahead and take our small hammer and we're going to apply a bit of tape to the top of the hammer. We want to make sure that there's some protective coating around this hammer so you don't mar the surface of the paint. When you tap these things in, it's important that you start on the back side and sort of work it around. If you hit it here, you'll have a tendency to crack these right off. So go ahead and start back here. Go ahead and nail them around. Back here, nail it around. Now go ahead and do all of the fasteners around the unit that you can see that are connected to the right side panel. We do not want to close any of these fasteners up top. So all of these fasteners that you see up along the top here, all of those should remain open. The only ones we want to close down, and any fastener that you see along the back as well, all of those should remain open. The only thing we're going to close are the fasteners that are touching the right side panel. So we're going to go ahead and do that. One little tip that I'll throw out is that you do want to fasten this particular fastener while the back panel is off. It's much easier to get this fastened when the back panel is off versus once the panel is on. Okay, so the next step in the process is to go ahead and put on the back panel. Again, you want to make sure that these hooks are facing to the inside of the unit and that the fasteners actually face to the outside. So let's go ahead and get started. What I like to do is take the top edge of the panel and go ahead and put that particular hook or that fastener right into the hole. Get the first one in, and then you just sort of work it back and forth until it drops into position. You might need to tap it a little bit. It'll drop into position. Okay, so as you're installing the back panel, feel free to take your rubber mallet and go ahead and tap it to make sure that it's flush with the side of the panel on the bottom. You can go ahead and do that, and that kind of eases things all together. So you can go ahead and then begin to bring the parts together. Okay, once the parts start coming together, you want to go ahead and here we have the top panel, but you want to go ahead and finger tighten these down as the parts start to come together, just to keep them nice and snug. Go ahead and finger tighten that. Then we're going to come over here right inside on the shelf side of things. We're going to work our way down. We'll go ahead and just finger tighten a couple of these as well, just to make sure it's nice and tight. And do the same all the way down. Okay, so the next step in the process is to go ahead and put on the left side panel. So what we're going to do is take that panel, we're going to go ahead and lay it up on top, just like this. Nice and easy, just lay it up on top. We just want to kind of get it in the position where it needs to be, and then we're going to start to work it into the holes. Okay, so what we want to do is start at the bottom of the unit, and we're going to go ahead and align the fasteners with the holes on the side panel. And then we're just going to take our rubber mallet and just begin to sort of work the unit or work the piece into those holes. And we, like I said, we start at the bottom and just work our way all the way to the top, making sure we get every one of the holes all aligned and set. Okay, now that we have the top panel on, what you want to do is just go ahead and go around all of the fasteners along the top edge. You want to finger tighten those down. You want to pull down a little bit on the top panel, make sure it's nice and snug. Finger tighten it. Again, pull it down and finger tighten it. And just work your way all the way around the panel, finger tighten everything. Once you've done that, then you can come back and actually knock these in. Just like that. Just go ahead and knock the rest of them closed. Okay, so one of the last steps I like to do, just go ahead and take some painter's tape that you have left over, and this is just precautionary. You want to go ahead and shut this door, shut the seat, and just tape the seat down. We just want to tape it down because when we move the locker off of this table, we want to make sure that the seat is not moving back and forth. So let's tape it down and we can go ahead and move the locker. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do is, now that we've got the unit up, go ahead and pull off this tape. You can set that aside for a minute, and we're going to lift up the bottom of the unit, and what we're going to do is go ahead and install the hinge. Now this hinge has a tab on the back side. You see this sort of interesting looking tab. So what we want to do is take the hinge like this, and we take this and install this tab inside that hole right there. So we're going to go ahead and set it in, and then we're going to turn it upward, just like that. Turn it up, and then we're going to pull it down and insert it right here, just so it locks in. Okay, so one more time what we're going to do is we're going to take this particular tab and it goes right inside of this pocket. So we take that tab and we set it in the pocket, we turn this upward like that, and then we pull this unit down, and we're going to go ahead and hook it. We're going to go ahead and hook it right into this particular nut. So we go ahead and hook it right in there. Once we have that hooked in, we're going to take this particular screw, we're going to go ahead and insert this screw right here. Just like that. So now that we've got it tightened down, it's all good to go. Now we can take the lid and go ahead and shut it, and as you can see, it's a nice soft close.